Hello, and with some trepidation, welcome to Sunday's bonus edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Now, Mark has requested that I try this puzzle on the screen, which is by none other than Phistomefel. It appeared on Logic Masters Germany a couple of months ago, and we have had a few requests to cover it since. And the main reason we haven't is that the rule set is basically a hybrid of two different types of logic problem. It's a hybrid of Fillomino and Yin-Yang. And the concern was that perhaps this might be just a little bit too much for a normal video because, well, people are used to Sudoku. They're even used to Sudoku variants, but asking them to get on top of two different types of other pencil puzzle might not have been popular. But you know my views about Phistomefel. He is a complete genius. And therefore, we thought, right, why not? We could do this as a Patreon bonus, and that's why you're watching this video. At least I hope you are, because if you're not, it's because I've messed it up and have not been able to do it. Now, there is a chance I won't be able to do this. I will tell you that, because I've not ever seen this hybrid before. And I've read the rules a couple of times. I think I understand them. But you know Phistomefel, he puts all sorts of tricks and treachery into his puzzles. So I will do my best. That is all I can guarantee you. So let me read you the rules and we can try and get our heads around them. So the idea is that we've got to divide the grid into areas so that each cell contains a number that indicates the size of the associated area. So just take a quick look at the grid. Let's imagine I did this. I made this. This would be absolutely fine because this area I've drawn here is of size 5, and every cell within it contains the digit 5. Now, the trick with Fillomino is that areas of the same size must not be vertically or horizontally adjacent. So what that means is that this cell, for example, could not also be part of a region of size 5. So if I try and create another region of size 5 there, this puzzle is now broken, because that's a size 5 region here attaching to another size 5 region there. Now, given numbers can belong to the same area, so that means those 8s, for example, could be part of the same region. And there may also be areas without a given number. So it's perfectly possible that, you know, there could be a 13 in here, which is going to be very difficult to notate in our software if there is. So I hope that's not the case. Now, what else? The areas must be... Now, this is where it gets complicated, because now we have to overlay these Fillomino rules. So far, it's been absolutely normal Fillomino. But listen, the areas must be divided into two groups, e.g. white and black, in such a way that white and black cells satisfy the Yin-Yang rules. There seems to be a helicopter going past outside. I'm sorry about that. I have my window open. Spring might be upon us here in the UK, so I've been trying to air the house. Right, so the white and black cells satisfy the Yin-Yang rules. What does that mean? It means that all cells of the same colour must be orthogonally connected, and no 2x2 area may be completely covered by one colour. Now, we have got an example here which Phistomefel has created on a smaller grid. So I'm just going to take a few seconds to have a look at this and get my head around it. So it might be a good idea for you guys to do the same. So the first thing we can see is that the grid on the left has been converted, I can see, into a correct Fillomino solution. And we can see that, for example, this region in the top left is of size 2. It's next to a region of size 3, so it's not next to a region of size 2. The 2's size regions are never orthogonally connected. We can see that. The 3 size regions are never orthogonally connected. So I can see how this is a complete Fillomino solution. Now, the reason it's a correct Yin-Yang solution is that the grid has been coloured. It's been two-coloured, basically, in such a way that I can see that all of the greens connect to one another orthogonally, all of the greys connect to one another orthogonally, and none of the greys or the greens wholly cover a 2x2 region. So I can totally see how this obeys the rules. What I'm much less clear on is how it's been generated. You know, what has Phistomefel done to generate this solution? And that's interesting. When I try and draw a line there, you can see I'm drawing the line there. You can see the dot moving, and it's drawing a line there. That's extremely strange. I do not understand computers, as you probably well realise. Anyway, with all that, 5-minute intro. This could be a very long video. Let us get cracking and have a think about how we would solve this. Now, I have not got a clue. I know two things. Actually, I know two tricks about yin-yang puzzles, and I will share those with you at the start in case that helps. The first trick is that the perimeter of a yin-yang puzzle can be a maximum. Well, it can't be divided into more than 2 regions. So if we come back to this example puzzle, perhaps that's the best way to look at it. You can see that the greens form one connected region around the perimeter, as do the greys. Now, there is a reason for that. If we try and divide the grid into, let's try and make it into several different regions like this, for example. Let's try and do this and see why this must be incorrect. It must be incorrect because you can see in joining the green regions together, however we do that, however we were to join this green region to this green region, we know they must join. However they join, you can see that the purple region in the top left could then not join the purple region in the bottom right. So we know that the perimeter of a yin-yang puzzle must just, so it could, for example, that would be totally fine. But we must only have 2 regions, if you like, 2 connected series of colours in the perimeter. So that's the first thing, that's the first trick. Now the other trick I know about yin-yang puzzles is, let us say we had that situation in the grid. We proved logically that this was a 2-colour series. This square could never be green. You cannot create a checkerboard in a yin-yang puzzle, and the reason is similar to the perimeter trick. Because if this was the case, let's think about how these 2 greens would join together, and it doesn't matter, again, how they join together. They could join together any way you like, but eventually they would have to join together under the rules, and in joining them together, this purple could never be orthogonally connected to this purple. So you cannot have a checkerboard arrangement of cells in yin-yang. Now, how does that help us solve the puzzle? Not got a clue. Right, what on earth do we look at here? What on earth do we look at here? So I suppose my eyes are drawn to 3 things here that we can investigate. The first of these 3s, so I'm wondering whether it's forced that they must connect to each other. For those 5s, I'm wondering whether they have to connect to each other. And the other thing I'm drawn to is this 8. So those 3 things are the things I'm seeing as interesting at the start. Let's look at the 3s, I think. So if these 3s were different colours, is that possible? So that would mean that when I say different colours, they would obviously then be part of different regions. So these 2 squares here then therefore couldn't be part of either of these regions. So this square could not come here, for example, for its next... Yeah, this purple one, for its other parts, it needs 2 more cells to reach a size of 3. It could not take either of those, so it would have to take both of those. That's quite interesting. Now this green one, on the other hand, couldn't take either of those. In fact, that is really interesting, because you also can't have a 2 by 2 of purple. So that would have to be green, but couldn't be a 3. Problem with this is we're very much going down the route of bifurcation here. I couldn't really see this without sort of... See, these cells are interesting now. What is that one? That can't be a 3. But it can't be a 1 either, because if this is a 1, whatever colour it is, what do you then put in this square? This square cannot be a 2 because it would join to this 2. This 2 region would join to this 2 region, however that developed. It couldn't be a 1 because it can't be a 1, and there's nothing else it could be. So this can't be a 1 and therefore would have to be a 2, I think. So this would develop like this. That would probably... yeah, that would then have to be a 1 to keep these apart. Oh, could it be a 3? Maybe that can be a 3. Yeah, maybe that's a 3. Hang on a minute. Anyway, no, I don't like this. I just don't feel this is proper solving. This is just guessing. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Hang on, I need to pause. Oh, sorry about that. I think it's a good job I turned off the microphone, though. That might have exploded some eardrums. Right, where was I? I was getting rid of the bifurcation I was doing down here, so let's get rid of that. The 5's up here. Can we say anything similar about those? So if these were different colours, these couldn't be 5s, so this 5 would have to come this way and turn upwards. This 5 would have to come downwards to get out. This square could be part of the 6. But if it was part of the 6, it would have to be purple, or it would create a 2x2 green region. This is tricky. This puzzle is tricky. This would have to be green, but not part of the 5. That means that would have to be purple. Then I'd have to avoid a checkerboard there. Those are both 5. Again, I just feel like this is bifurcation, though, in a way. I'm not really... I'm just sort of hypothesizing something and following it through, which is not really how I like to solve, as hopefully you guys know. So let's get rid of this. Let's have a look at this 8 instead. Now, this 8 is a little bit interesting to me for a couple of reasons. It's got to be, I can see it's got to be a bit careful not to pen in this 5. So if this 8, for example, did, took those squares, this 5 is now broken. It can't take 5 squares because it's sort of penned in by this wall of 9, 6, 6, 4. The other thing that's interesting about this 8 is thinking about these squares. Now these squares can't all be the 8, because if they were, they would occupy a 2x2 region, and that would break the rules of the puzzle. So at least one of these squares is not an 8. 1, 2... hang on, I've got to make sure this 8 can get out as well. So the 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, can't do a 2x2. Oh, I can't lock things in either. This 8 is weird. I think this 8 might be interesting. Let's see if I can construct something that I'm happy with it looking like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe the 8 has to take this square. So is there a construction here where the 8 doesn't take this square? That's the question. 1, 2, 3. Maybe there is actually. That would seem to be okay. That does allow the 5 to escape. Ah, that's annoying. Just have a quick look at that if you don't mind, just so I can visualize it. Of course, this wouldn't have to be part of the 5. but the 5 would have to do at least that, and this would have to be, yeah, all of what we could say in this situation is because this would have to be green to avoid a 2 by 2, and this green has to connect to the rest of the grid, all of those would have to be the same colour. So this and this would be the same colour, and it'd have to go at least to here. So, okay, one thing that is a bit interesting about that is I wonder if I need to approach this differently, because I'm wondering if you can show that oh, sorry, I'm not being very articulate, but I have a feeling if this was something like this was correct, you can see that it forces the 8 and the 5 to be different colours, and both of them hit the perimeter. Now, if this is correct, therefore, there could only be, we'd have to trace the greens around the perimeter until they hit a purple, whereupon the rest of the perimeter would have to be purple, because remember, all purples on the perimeter must connect to each other directly, and all greens must connect to each other around the perimeter directly. That is an interesting thought, actually. That is an interesting thought. So maybe what I'm meant to do is the idea, therefore, that I'm trying to I'm wondering if there's a way of telling where perimeter changes of colours must occur. Like, is it here? Hang on, maybe actually maybe I'm meant to start here. Hang on a moment. Hang on a moment. This 4 cannot hide in those 3 squares because it's of size 4. So this 4 has to hit the perimeter somewhere in here. I don't know where, but it must hit the perimeter. So however it hits the perimeter, let me just think about this. However it hits the perimeter, yeah, okay, here's a thought. It's not possible for all of these squares to be the same colour, because that would mean they were a 2 by 2 that's entirely the same colour. So we know that there must be 2 colours in these 4 squares. We also know that the 4 cannot take all 3 of those perimeter squares, because if it does, axiomatically we've created a 2 by 2 of the same colour. So one of these 3 squares must not be the same colour as the 4. And it could never be this one, because if it was, if we did, this is interesting. I think this is a very interesting line of inquiry, because if we go there, for example, with the 4, we know this one couldn't be, and this would break the puzzle, because this, oh no, it wouldn't break the puzzle. And it probably would break the puzzle. Yeah, it would break the puzzle, because this green cannot connect to anything else. And we know that it's not possible for the entirety of the rest of the grid to be purple without breaking the 2 by 2 rule. So that is total nonsense. You cannot pen a cell in So if we know this is one colour and these three squares cannot be the same colour as whatever this is, there must be two colours in the perimeter in these three squares. Now we know that the rest of the grid, the rest of the perimeter, can have only one other change of colour on it. So maybe if I can conclude down here the same thing somehow, then we would know that all of these squares had to be the same colour. And that would be, yes, that would be interesting. Because if I knew that, imagine I knew that the yellow squares were the same colour. Then, let's just colour them in. By the way, I don't mean that this is purple and this is purple. In fact, let's make them different. I just mean that this run of cells is the same colour. This run of cells is the same colour. If I knew these cells were the same colour, this would be a different colour. This is interesting, because now, if that was the case, then, if that was a different colour to the 5 would all become constrained very heavily. We've already thought about this a little bit, but we didn't really go down the route because it felt like guessing to try and see what this meant. But if we knew it was correct, I would be much more comfortable with pursuing this line. So, right, my job, I think, is to get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this, and think hard about this. Is it possible? Right, hang on, let me think about this. I'm not exactly sure how to do this. Well, what am I trying to show here? I'm trying to show that within these cells, I'm trying to show basically that these cells here cannot all be the same colour. That's what I'm trying to show. Is there a quick way of showing that? That's the interesting question now. Well, how about this? Is it possible the 5 doesn't touch the perimeter of the grid? Is it possible I can squeeze this region of size 5 into cells that don't touch the perimeter? The answer is clearly no. These 4 I could put in without touching the perimeter, but the next cell, wherever it is, hits the perimeter. Now clearly the same must be the case for this 8 as well. This 8 could do those squares, and then it must hit the perimeter. So, if we can prove that 8 and 5 can't be the same colour, then we're there. Because we know then that there must be, in this region, a change of colour on the perimeter. So is it possible for this 8 and 5 to be the same colour? Well, it's not. It's just not. There's no way of doing that without creating a 2x2. How am I ever going to fill this region? We know one of these squares here must be green. Otherwise, we know one of these must be green, because otherwise we've got a purple 2x2 in the corner. And we know whichever one is green of these has to get out of this region. And in getting out of the region, so let's imagine that was green, just for the sake of exposition. How is this going to get out without trapping the 5 or the 8 into too small a region? The answer is it can't get out. There's no way. So so that one's impossible, definitely. This one. If this was green, can we get it out and leave enough room something like, oops, something like this. No, that's not going to get out. Because remember as well, yeah, I mean, it's obvious, this green has to connect to lots of other parts of the grid. No, I mean, this is just absolute nonsense. There's just no way. I mean, if it comes up like that, how on earth do I keep this 8 and this 5 without... How do I fill this 8 without creating a 2 by 2 with a 5? It's absolutely... I mean, I hope I don't have to sort of go through every single cell there. It's just... It's pretty visually obvious you can't do it. If it's this one, maybe this one is the way to do it. I don't see how... If this is the case, I don't see how this comes out. Now, where would this 5 go without creating a 2 by 2 with the 8? It could do... It can get to those 4 squares, fine. But what's its next square? It's got to be creating a 2 by 2. So this is probably the least constrained version, but it's still utterly constrained. What about if it goes the other way? If it goes up here, I think it's worse because the 8 has to get out and that traps the 5. So that doesn't work. I think I've basically exhausted all the options. This just doesn't work, does it? Oh, let's try that out. Maybe that works. Ah! No. Ooh, okay, that's an interesting one. I thought that might work for a second, but it doesn't. Because if the 5 does that, which is I think the best it will do, the 8 looks like it can escape, and we think, ah, we've done it. Remember the 2 by 2 rule, that would be green, and it's not connected to this green. So even this doesn't work. Ooh, that was tricky though. That was tricky. What about that one? Let's double check this one here. So if it did that, I know this is broken, immediately broken, and the 8's just broken. There's nothing you can do with this 8 without taking these squares and trapping the 5. So, right, good. I think I've made progress. I realise I've only got this in the grid. In fact, I'm going to delete that. But I've proved this 8 and this 5 are not the same colour. And I know that each must touch the perimeter somewhere in this area. And therefore there is a change of colour in this region. We know that there's a change of colour in that region. So I now know that there can be no more changes of colour in the perimeter. And that means all of these squares, I think literally all of these squares have to be the same colour. And I think literally all of those cells have to be the same colour. Now, is it the case they are? Yeah, and it's also the case that these are opposite colours to each other. Yeah, it's obviously the case they're opposite colours to each other. If this was purple, we just get an island of green here, an island of green here, and that would connect to each other somehow and split up the purples. Sorry, that was me being dumb. So we get purples and greens. This square therefore must be green, this square must be purple. And now I think it's worth revisiting the logic up here again. And down here, actually. Maybe the 3 is better first. Let's look at the 3 first. Let's think about this. So, this 3 cannot... so that square is green, but can't be a 3. So this is a new number. And it can't be a 1, because then what would that be? That would have to be... That has to be green, so it has to be... would have to be a 2 because it couldn't be a 1 and it would hit this one. Yeah, okay, so this is 2, this is 2, this is 1. This 3 can't take this square because it would hit this 3. So this 3 comes here and is purple. This 3 can't come here, so it must come up. and turn. This 3, so that's green. Now look, I've got the opportunity to avoid 2x2s here. Both of those must therefore be purple. And this purple can't be a 3, so this is some other number. Let's just put a few options in there so we don't get... This could be like a 50, though. We don't know what this is. That one, therefore... we've got to avoid a 2x2 purple, so that's green. Avoid a checkerboard. This can't be purple. If this is purple, let me show you. This 2x2 is a checkerboard, so we've looked at why that's impossible. So this is green. Okay. So this is now a 1. We know it's not a 3, and it's an isolated cell. So that's a 1. This must be a 3 to escape that. And this is absolutely brilliant, isn't it? Because all of a sudden we're able to do things without it being sort of monstrously hard. This 2 has to get out, so that's got to be a 2. So this 5 has to get out. It's got to take that square. Right, let's think about the next cell for this 5. It's either here or here. Either way, it connects to that. And given that it can't be that this 5 therefore must be in this one's region and therefore must be green. And that creates 2 opportunities to avoid a 2x2. This is a 5. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this 5 still needs one more cell. It's either that one or that one. Okay. Might be running out of steam here. This cell can't be 1 and can't be 3, but could be 2. So that's just some other digit. We don't know what that is. This one could be a 1 though. So I don't think I'm going to pencil mark that one. Okay, well that's still amazing progress compared to where we were, and I've still got the opportunity to think about the top right. So let's look at that instead. We've got this 5 can't take that cell or that cell, so it must take this cell and then must turn downwards, so we get another purple there. Avoid 2x2s, so make those green. This square can't be part of the 5, otherwise it will connect to a purple 5. So that is some other digit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, etc. This 5 must come down, it's got nowhere else to go. Avoid a 2x2 of the greens, so this square is purple. Avoid a checkerboard, so this square is purple. That's isolated, that's why it's very similar to what went on down there actually. That's a 5, that's green. This 5, this 5 region here, which can't take this square, must take another square here, and then can't take this square. So this square is another number, and it's not 1, and it's not 5. So this is a different number altogether. Let's put a few options in for that one. That one, as it can't be 1, must extend, so it must come down. Avoid a 2x2, so that's green. The 5 is now forced to be this one. And that 5 is now finished. It's a Z pentomino. Look, this green has to connect to its friends, so that must be green. This 5 still needs 5, so it's got to take another square. That one becomes a 5. It's got nowhere to go. It can't take the 4, so it must take this square as its 5th square. And that becomes a 5, and I can see there's going to be a checkerboard, so we can't make this purple. That's got to be green. That has penned in this domino. So this domino is a 2 domino now. And all of a sudden we are actually making wonderful progress. This 6 could come up here, look. 2, 3, 4. So it must take those two. These 2 squares must be part of the 6. But we don't know whether the 6 comes down this way. And it could leave a 3 there behind it. This 6 I've not done anything with, so that's 6. All of the... Oh, 1, 2, 3. All of those have got to be in the 6, look. So that's 6. Ah, this 6 probably connects to there. Probably. Is that necessary? If it does that, this would be green. If it doesn't do that, this would have to be... Both of these would have to be 6. And then, oh, is there enough room for the 4? Let me just check that. So if both, then the... Oh, the 4 could do that. Yeah, maybe that leads to a purple 6 here and a green 8. Yeah, okay, sorry. I'm not sure about that. I don't think I know what this does. Okay. What do we do now? Do we know anything about this 4? I've got to be quite careful here as well, actually. I'm just thinking about this. This 8 is incredibly crammed in now. The 8's going to have to occupy quite a lot of real estate down here. Yeah, in fact, doesn't the 8 have to take this cell? If this cell is not part of the 8, it would have to come... So the 8 couldn't block the 5 in, so this would have to... Whatever this cell was would come along here, and the 8 would have to take... I think the 8 would have to take those... Oh no, that's only 7. That doesn't even work. I think these two cells are part of the 8. But I'm not exactly sure I know what that means. Okay, sorry. This can't be part of a 2, so that's part of a bigger number. It can't be part of a 2 because of this. Okay, so where do we find the next easy digit? Are there any easy digits we can take from now? That would be good, wouldn't it? I feel like it's this part of the grid I've got to think about. Don't I know the colour, actually, of this 8 and this 5? Because if it went this way round... How would I connect this 8? We know the 8 touches the perimeter somewhere, and we know the 5 touches the perimeter somewhere, but the 8 would need to touch the perimeter this side, because if the 8 touches it here and the 5 touches it here, we'd have too many different colours on the perimeter of the grid, and that's not going to work. So actually we do know the colours of these. It must go this way round. And we know that the 8... The 8 must take at least this. If the 8 took that square, for example, the whole of these squares would have to be connected. So the 8's definitely taking at least this cell. And the 5 must work the same way. The furthest away the 5 could take in the perimeter would be maybe that square, so as not to create a 2 by... If the 5 did that, for example, all of these would have to be green. So this must at least be green, but doesn't necessarily have to be part of the 5. Okay. I have a feeling that this 4 here has to take this square. Because if it doesn't, take this square, it has to be purple. And if it's purple, it would have to, and it's not taking this square, and it has to avoid a 2 by 2, it would have to take that square. So all of these are now a 4. And there's no room for the 8. Because this square has to be green now, and there aren't 8 cells down here. So that actually feels like quite a reasonable deduction. So this 4 has to take this square, and if it has to take those squares, it must actually be purple. Because if it's green, it would create a 2 by 2. That's a nice deduction. So these both purple, that must be green. That green's got to connect to its friends, so it's got to come out. We know the 8's going to touch the perimeter somewhere, so all of a sudden we've got, oh, and we've got to avoid a checkerboard, so that must connect. I think the 4 has to come out one more. If this was a 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, maybe not actually. I'm not sure. I think there is still the opportunity for this 8 to do something like that. And that is 8 cells, and the 5 can get out. So I think what I just said was not correct. This 6, whichever cell this 6 takes next, it's either this one or this one, and it connects to this, so that's green. Okay. How long have I had? 42 minutes. That doesn't seem that long for a puzzle of this difficulty, actually. At least I've got something in the grid as well. I think I could have been sitting here for 42 minutes and not got anything. So, how do we go further? Is it possible that this square is not part of the 8? I just don't believe it. If that's not part of the 8, it would be green. It would have to connect to the greens there. And now there aren't 8 cells. Right, okay, that's easy. This is purple, so that must be purple. That must be green. Oh, now I'm running out of room. Have I broken it? Ah! 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh no, I haven't. Oh, thank God for that. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This must be definitely. So now the 8 actually. Well, we know all of these are in the 8 because there's not enough room otherwise. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Absolute minimum. So it must take this square or it hasn't got enough room. I'm not sure I know about this one. The 4 though is now pushed out. Look, 4's got to take that square or it can't get to 4. That gives us another purple. I think this is very congested now. I'm actually wondering whether this can be purple. If that's purple, a purple, what happens to that? That has to be green. That has to be purple. And the 5 has not got out, so it would have to hit that. And now I think I've trapped the 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have trapped the 8. So this square, I don't think can be purple. I think that's green. That's purple, therefore. This is a 6. The 4 is now trapped. Yes, the 4 is trapped by this 3. So that must be 4. And the 8, I think, is now forced, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would seem to be correct. I can't see why that's wrong. I hope it's not. The 5 is very much trapped now. This is terrifying, I have to say. I keep thinking, oh my goodness, imagine if I've made an error here. And I think it would be quite easy to make an error. The 5 has to get out. So it's got to take at least those cells. We don't know whether this is a solitary 1. We don't know whether this is a solitary 1. This square must be purple to avoid a 2 by 2. We don't know whether this is a solitary 1. Wow, okay. Good grief. This is very interesting, but very challenging. 1, 2, I've definitely got 8 cells there. I've not got much of this 6 done, actually. I really haven't. Is anything trapped here? Oh, right, here is a piece of logic. Let's look at this 8. This 8 has to go somewhere. Now, however this 8 develops from where it is at the moment, you can see it's sort of trapped into this cul-de-sac. So it's going to have to come out here, and then it's going to have to take one of these 2 squares, which will connect it to this. Now let's imagine that these 8s are purples. You can see if they're purples, however they connect, they are going to corral in this green little domino here. However this comes out, it's going to trap it in. So, these are not purple and they are both green. This one is most probably part of this. Let's just have a think about this. Is it possible this comes out without touching this? I don't believe it. It might be, you know. Although that would create a 2 by 2, so I've got to be really careful. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We know these are green. I don't think it is possible, actually. I can't see how I can ever create 8 greens here without creating a 2 by 2. What is the next digit I could take that doesn't connect to this? This would create a 2 by 2. This would create a 2 by 2. Both of these connected to this, so this is all connected. Now this purple region at the bottom has to connect to its friends somehow. Here's an interesting idea. This 6 region, 1, 2, 3, if it took this, that would be 4. It can't take both of those because that will create a 2 by 2 6 region, or green region. So this 6 region has to get to this column. And if it has to get to this column, however it gets there, if it can't pen in this 9. This 9 needs to get cells. So if the 6 got there, if it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 9 can't get out. So it doesn't do that. So this 6 region must take this square. That is gorgeous. And if it takes that square, it must take this square. I think, yeah, because otherwise it traps the 9. Yeah, that's good. So it does this. That must therefore be purple. This 9 has to get out, so it's going to have to come through this little gap here. That therefore has to be green. Uh-oh, I've broken it. No, I haven't broken it. I thought I'd broken it because I thought that had to be a 2 domino. And you obviously can't put double 1 here. But look, the 5 helps me. I can put the 5 there, put the 1 here, put the 1 here, and now I've not broken it. Yeah, 9s go there. This must be a 9. It must be purple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it could just take those 3. If the 9 doesn't take this square, it would have to come this way, and it will trap the 3 in. So it must take this square. But I don't know whether it continues there, because it could still come 1 that way or 2 that way. This square's green though, to avoid a 2 by 2. Avoid a checkerboard, that square's green. Avoid a 2 by 2, that square's purple. That purple, ooh, has to get out. It's got to go there. This purple has to get out. It's trapped at the moment, so that's purple. It could connect here, and that would connect it, you see, to its friends, or it could come. It can't do that, surely. That's going to pen in. Are we learning that this square has to be? Very unsure I know what I'm learning here now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Don't know. I'm not sure. But I'm bad feeling about this 3 though, and that's not pleasant. These, I've got to avoid a checkerboard here. That's got to be green. That's now forcing this purple to come through this set. So the 3 is purple, and 3 can't just get enough cells this way, so that's purple. Oh, goodness me, this green hasn't connected to its friend, so that's green. The 3 is, the 3 is penned in. The 9 has to take those 2 squares, therefore, otherwise it won't get enough digits. These 8s had to connect, didn't they? They can't connect through that 6, so that must be green. All of these have to be 8s. This is absolutely terrifying. This... Right, sorry. Let me just... Now this purple hasn't got out, so that's purple. What's this? This must be doable now. That's a 2. Those squares are that's the only thing they can be. I've still got to put 2 more green 8s in. This region's missing 1. This 6 region. Oh, hang on, but that could get its quota from there. In fact, if that doesn't get its quota from there, that's not going to work. There's no way to make this a size 6 and avoid a huge 6 region in the top. So this 6 region is part of this 6 region, and therefore the only way to connect them is via that square. This square is a 6. This square is now green. So this 6 region is done now, which makes that square a 1, and these are 2. Keep being convinced I've broken it somehow. This 4 region now needs to be... So the 4, avoid a checkerboard, that's green. I can't make... Yeah, it's not possible that both of these are green, so only one of these is green. If it's this one, it traps the purple in the corner, so it's that one. That must be... That's a lone 1 now, there. These squares now complete the 4. I can't believe the way these little 1s keep saving me. It's a ridiculously clever... I mean, imagine trying to create this puzzle. Imagine it. It would be... I mean, it's just utter genius, isn't it? Now this 4 has penned this 5 in, so that's a 5. That's probably going to put pressure on the 8 now. I need 2 more squares for the 8. This could be a 1 though. How does this resolve uniquely? Oh, what's going on at the top? Oh no! 2, 3. Oh, I can make all of those 6. That's good. That's what's going on there. this could be a 1. If the 8 just came to this square and didn't come further, this would have to be a 2 domino and would break. If the 8 didn't enter this square at all, what would you put in those 3 squares? Given you can't put 3 1s in, you can't put a 3 in, it would break this, and you can't ever put 2 in without taking this square and connecting that. So this has to be, let me double check the logic there. So if you don't come in, the puzzle's broken. So you've got to come in and take 1. Once you've taken 1, you can't stop, or this is a 2 region. So you've got to take 2, which completes the 8 region. And I think leaves a 1 here, a 1 here, and a 1 here. And that, I think, completes a remarkable puzzle. Oh, no, it doesn't. Oh, no. Ah, yeah, look, this 6 has only got 5 in it, so we can put a 6 here, and that's not going to break it. Have I got any other gaps? No. I have no clue and no actual confidence that this is correct. What I could do, actually, is go to Logic Masters Germany and just put in the solution and see if it accepts it. So hang on, I'm going to pause and do just that. And you can see I've just put it in. It says, congratulations, you have solved the puzzle. I had to put in row 5 followed by row 7. And that is, so it is correct, and that I am very relieved about. It's a heck of a puzzle, isn't it? It really is. And I'm sure that there were quicker ways of solving it, but as I say, I've not seen one of those before, so I had to sort of figure out the logic on the fly. And I hope that you enjoyed watching me do that. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Let me know in the comments. You still can comment on unlisted videos, so I will look at them. And I do, as I say, appreciate you sticking with me. And come back later on for another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.